If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw.
And I'm Sean Liang.
And, you know, these superhero movies seem to bring out all the guest co-hosts that I think we can handle. So today we are joined by frequent guest co-host of the Kulturecast, director Matt Campagna.
Hello.
Film critic for the site, Ben Hanig.
Hey, everybody.
And film critic for the site, Ash Suri.
Hi, everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about Captain America: Civil War. We're going to have a spoiler-free discussion at the beginning, and then we'll get into spoilers a little bit later while talking about the film. Before we talk about Captain America: Civil War, have you guys been watching anything this week, starting with Matt?
There's nothing else in the universe right now but Game of Thrones, right? Am I mistaken that there's nothing else? I was shocked that I came up for air and for Civil War. That was about the only thing.
Game of what?
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I actually, hey, shit you not, I finally am fully caught up on the show. I had not watched it until 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Good work.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest here. The show is kind of overhyped.
Agreed.
I don't know, man.
I'm not saying it's a bad show, but I'm just saying, like, it's not the best show ever made in the history.
It's a thing one can watch.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting you say it's not the best show ever made. I think there's three kinds of shows, right? There are shows that were canceled before they were finished. There are shows that are still on, and so you really can't judge them yet because they could jump the shark any second. And then there are shows that ran their full season run and were ended because the creators said, "Okay, we're done." And so I'd say Game of Thrones, since it's currently in the category of you can't fully judge it because it could get terrible, and then you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that had a good 5 seasons, and then it's currently the best show that's not finished that I've ever seen in my life. So I don't think it's overhyped, personally. I think it's kind of just perfectly hyped.
I'll tell you what, though, watching season 5, that season was not good.
Oh, you didn't enjoy 5, huh?
I thought 5 was the weakest season of the show.
Interesting.
I don't know, and I've heard people say that as well. So I'm at least I'm not like the only person saying that. But
no, it's true. I've heard people say that as well.
Yeah, I feel like it was a little weaker. And season 6, I'm excited to see where they go because obviously now they don't have the books.
Well, the interesting thing is before they were even willing to start making this show, they made George R. R. Martin sit down and write out an entire outline for what is going to happen. Because if that dude gets hit by a bus or, a Big Mac, we need to make sure that we know where the show's going.
It's savage, Pat.
And so, it's important to know that you have a show with integrity, even without your creator's source material necessarily there. So I have complete faith that they're going in no uneven way towards the same destination that they've always been going.
I don't know about that, though. I mean, they've already diverted quite a bit, so it's hard to say if this will be a Full Metal style thing or if we'll get a point for point eventually.
Well, I really feel like there are certain things you can't do in the books if you want to really surprise the hell out of people with the storyline that's been happening in the movies. So, or in the show at least. And I feel like, anyone who was like, oh, I really wanted Lady Stoneheart to happen, the storyline with other characters dying and staying dead or not is lessened when characters keep coming back from the dead in a show that's legendary for killing them. So I feel like the ways that they've diverted have been generally for the best.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. This show likes to make a point of killing characters off. Though, and this is something I've been kind of struggling with. The show has killed off characters that are like close to being main characters.
In season 1, they killed off literally the star of the show.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if I'd call him the star.
Well, called him the star.
Right. The shows, everything around the show was set up to make you think that, because I would assume that they were assuming a lot of people had never read the source material. But like, I think it's gotten to the point now where they've weaned it down to 3 very obvious main characters.
And they will.
5, I guess, if you want to look at it, with the 2 other Stark children as main characters, or the 3. But I'm not worried about any of the main characters dying at this point.
Yeah, I think it's hard to spend 6 years watching some characters and then, you can kill off a Robb Stark and an Ed Stark early on, and then it's not a huge deal. It's a shock. But now if you kill off Daenerys, you're like, why did I invest time in that at all? It gets a little embarrassing at this point.
I was like, Jon Snow's coming back, guys. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, it was a very easy season break from 5 to 6 for me, because I was like, no, you can't have the Red Woman stroll by and then in the same episode kill off a character and expect me to believe that that's bad.
But it was strange to me, and Sean and I talked about this last week. The reaction people had to him coming back. It's like, have you guys never read fantasy before?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the
way it was even shot.
Yeah, I was like, he's coming back to life, people. There's not a question here.
I was in the room with a bunch of people who've read all the books and were super hyped because, they're at that, we don't know point. And she's grabbing me and shaking me like, is he going to die? Is he still dead? Is he still dead? And I'm like, give it literally 30 seconds. They just walked out. He's going to, breathe himself back to life, or the wolf's going to do something stupid. It's fine. It's fucking fine.
Yep.
No stakes.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear, but it's nice to see it finally, everything's set right again.
That's the reason why I always wait until a show is completely done, like what you were saying, Matt, when it's finished, because then I don't know, I don't like to participate in commenting while a show is still happening. That's why I don't. Yeah. I'm not really bothered by Facebook stuff because I won't, I'm not a part of that yet. So that when I can enjoy it later, it's all my own interpretation and my own, I don't know. That's what I did with The Office, and that's what I did with Parks and Rec. So I don't know. That's what I like to do. But that makes me, I don't get to participate in all the fun, anticipation though. So.
Yeah. And, as much as I feel like I missed out on the first few years of The Walking Dead because I did the same thing with it. I waited a few years and I was like, okay, the show's not going to get canceled before it's time. I'm willing to watch it now.
See, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, you get used to a certain pace of a storyline being told. And then when you start going week to week after that, it can sometimes kill a show. It can kill a show for you when, it's hard, man.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ben? Have you been watching anything?
Movie-wise, not really. TV shows, Venture Brothers ended a month ago. I guess I got my JoJo's now, but now I know what you guys are talking about, that month to month kind of waiting though. I've read all of that, so it's more on the comics than it is on the anime that I'm oh geez, give me more.
Yeah.
But I'll leave my anime talk out for another time. This isn't the right audience, clearly.
Crickets.
Crunchy. Sorry, I don't know about Crunchyroll. I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't pay for Crunchyroll. I'm just going to throw that out right now.
Free rider on Crunchyroll. I see how it is.
Dude, I'm not going to pay $10 a month for one show I watch a week. Like, no, thank you. I'm already doing that with Netflix because I'm still behind on Daredevil. So.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, I got like one episode in, and I just have not had the time since of season 2. So I need to catch up at some point. But I'm hearing strange things about the follow-up to what was a pretty phenomenal first season. So I'm a little worried.
Oh, yeah. I loved the hell out of second season of Daredevil. That show, the first season was amazing. Then Jessica Jones was one of the best things I've ever seen. And then Daredevil just nailed it. I couldn't believe how fantastic Punisher was. And it's just like, wow,
I've heard good things about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard.
See, I've heard varying things about the Punisher.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard some people really like him, and then other people are like, no, not what I wanted.
Huh.
And, and I kind of take everything with a grain of salt because what one person wants is subjective.
Right.
Yeah.
The overall sense I've got is that Punisher was good, though. So good that they're making his own show.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. My God, I couldn't believe what a spectacular Punisher that was. And I've been watching Punisher movies in real time since the first one came out, and just finding them, increasingly better in quality. But nothing like what Bernthal did. That was just a breathtaking, real, gorgeous version of the Punisher. It was great.
Did you ever see that YouTube short, the Dirty Punisher?
Oh, Thomas Jane's Dirty Laundry? Yeah. That was
how do you think it stacks up to that? Because that's kind of where I'm.
Oh, I think it's way better than that. That was cool.
Oh.
It was neat, but yeah, Bernthal to me is the definitive Punisher in every way. And to me, Ray, I really enjoyed what we got out of.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror. We'll cover all the subgenres, so join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Ray in Warzone. But halfway through Punisher Warzone, it turned into like a weird carnival, and then it stopped making any sense. But the first half of it, I mean, that moment when the Punisher's nose is broken and he just jams the pencil in there and corrects it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's the Punisher. Okay, you got me. Like that, to me, that's still the best Punisher movie. And then really? Jesus, Bernthal comes along and blows it all out of the water.
All right. I'm stoked for that. I've just heard that.
You connect in an emotional way with the Punisher, and that's something that they've never really gotten before, and they really got it in the Netflix series.
That's pretty crucial.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Ash? You been watching anything?
I mean, besides Game of Thrones, I watched 71 recently. This is I don't know if you guys heard of it, but it was this it's like 2014 war movie about the troubles in Ireland. It's pretty much behind enemy lines, set in Ireland.
Cool.
Cool.
Does it have Luke Wilson? You said it's like behind enemy lines. I was hoping for Luke Wilson.
Well, as long as it's not Owen, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
So is it a good movie worth checking out?
Yeah, I was like really surprised by it because it was like the director, he never done anything before. He'd done like I think theater, but it was really, really good. It was a different kind of. It was really personal. It was just like it was focused on this guy the whole time and just like how shitty the situation in Ireland was the whole time. So I mean, it was like I never heard of it, and it made like a horrible loss, but it was a really good movie.
Cool.
What about you, Sean?
I realized that I did. I watched Zootopia this weekend. And it was cute. It was such a cute movie, with a great message. But that's basically what it was.
What are you talking about, Sean? There were people on my Facebook, parents saying that you should never take your children to a movie that has a message.
Well, that's probably true.
How dare you take your child to a children's film that actually has something to say?
Right?
Stupid pieces of shit.
This movie should be nothing more than, Oogie Loves.
Yeah, garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Filth.
God.
Don't say those words.
Oh, my God. Great balloon.
I'm having war flashbacks, man. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. But yeah, I thought it was great. I hadn't it's another movie that I avoided listening to what everyone was saying about it, and I watched it and I realized why everyone was talking about it, and instantly. I think it's great. I think we need stuff like that. I think kids need stuff like that, especially. It's just really positive message. I don't know. I just love that. Boo racism.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, so let's sit down and talk about Captain America: Civil War, because I know we got a lot of stuff to say about it. Film came out 2 days ago. It is the first film in Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3. I guess it's the second film technically, because Ant-Man was the first film.
No, I think actually, oddly enough, Ant-Man closed out Phase 2 as much as it didn't feel like a big ending. But yeah, technically this is Phase 3's beginning.
Are you sure? I thought that each phase ends with an Avengers movie. I thought that.
Well, that was the weird thing about this one. It didn't fit the plan like the first one did. But yeah, you know what? I think ultimately the phases are all going to blur anyway. So I don't think it's super essential.
And the film stars practically all of the characters from the Avengers, sans Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo as Thor and Hulk, respectively. It also introduces Tom Holland as Spider-Man and Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, a.k.a. Black Panther. The IMDb synopsis for the film is: political interference in the Avengers' activities causes a rift between former allies Captain America and Iron Man.
Sometimes that doesn't mean everybody. But you don't give up. New York. Washington, D.C. Sokovia. Okay, that's enough. Captain, people are afraid. That's why I'm here. We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game. I'm sorry, Tony. If I see a situation pointed south, I can't ignore it. Sometimes I wish I could. Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth. I know we're not perfect. But the safest hands are still our own. Wrong about you. The whole world was wrong about you. They're coming for you.
I'm not the one that needs to watch their back.
This doesn't have to end in a fight, Tony. You just started a war. Stay down. Final warning. I could do this all day.
All right. I've run out of patience. On to roost!
Well, Matt, starting with you and working around the table, quick thoughts on the film.
Hard for me to say this, but for a movie that doesn't involve Mark Ruffalo's brilliant version of the Hulk, somehow Captain America 3 is the best Marvel movie to date. I enjoyed it so frigging much. I was in shock the whole way through how tight, how brilliant, how well made this film was. The performances were spectacular. The two new guys that, kind of come out of nowhere in this film, but feel right at home, Spider-Man and Black Panther, both are brilliantly introduced, and I cannot wait for their films. This is how you bring a couple of characters into a movie about somebody else and tell the audience who they are and get them excited for who they're going to be. And God damn, this movie was good. It was the best Marvel movie I've seen.
What about you, Ben?
I don't know if I'm quite that strong on it. I really did enjoy it. I agree. I think the script was extremely potent. And it took some pretty calculated risks. Like I wrote on my full review for the site, I think that one of the strengths of Civil War is that it actually takes the time to be more of a character study than just a punchy action flick. And where some more recent superhero movies have tried to pitch themselves as something lofty and smart and thinky, and then just kind of left those questions to the wayside, I think Civil War does a better shot of saying, okay, here are the problems. Here are the things we want to investigate. Let's look into those. Let's leave this to the discussion. That being said, I don't know if I'm ready yet to call it the best movie of the run. I really, really liked Winter Soldier, and I think Winter Soldier was a little bit tighter in the ending. I think Guardians was a breakout hit that it didn't deserve to be, and I have an emotional soft spot for Iron Man 3 as much as many other fans may hate it.
You just love a Christmas movie.
Huh?
You just must love a Christmas movie.
I do have a weak spot for Christmas movies, yes, but also anything that shows going through PTSD, anxiety attacks, and rebuilds through that. That's a little close to home here. So right. I have to avouch myself of that. That being said, Civil War does really, really, really do shit well. And I think it's better than Deadpool, and I really enjoyed Deadpool. So let's put it at that for now.
Ash, what did you think of it?
I liked it. I mean, obviously it was a great film. And yeah, it's the best Marvel film that's come out to date. But honestly, this movie. I was really looking forward to this movie, and I guess my expectations were higher considering that BVS was such a giant flop. So I was like, whatever you put out, it's gonna look amazing compared to this, and it wasn't as good as I expected. But there's some things that like Marvel does that I just in like every movie, it's like across all directors that I just sometimes it doesn't make sense like why they keep doing it. But I think this was a really good, like just like Winter Soldier was, this was a really good mix of it was a political thriller, and it was talking about ideals and what each hero approaches them as and what each hero thinks. And I think it did a really, really good job of balancing so many characters in only 2.5 hours. Yeah, and there's some other gripes, like Spider-Man, things like that, personal opinions. But overall, yeah, it's the best Marvel film to come out. It's probably like going to be up there. I mean, it did feel like Avengers 2.5, but there's nothing wrong with that because I think every time Marvel makes a big ensemble movie, they learn from it, and it's pretty obvious that they learned from what happened with Age of Ultron.
What about you, Sean?
Yeah, so I feel like, again, I fall in the category of being sort of on the outside with this stuff. But this is, like I said before, this is Marvel, and we are all sort of becoming acclimated with these characters in the way that we are with like TV. And I think that's what I'm loving about it. There's a lot of movies, especially superhero movies lately, talking about the morality of being a superhero. And I think this one really captures that sort of idea really, really, really well, in so much as that it's kind of who our villain is in this case. Like, it's a very interesting way it deals with that sort of.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Balance, or that sort of battle even. And I thought, my biggest takeaway is like, this is how you introduce a character that we already know. This is the third Spider-Man I've seen since I was born on the big screen. And I think, comparing it to Batman vs. Superman, this is just how you really elegantly introduce a character that we all already know without feeling redundant, and by adding something, I don't know, a little bit more to it. And Spider-Man was not my most favorite part about this movie, but I thought that was extremely cool, that I accepted him as a new character. And for me, as being someone on the outside, that makes a big deal. That's a big deal to me. So I thought, this movie was really, I know we've said it over and over, really tight with script, but I think that it's sort of how the whole universe is becoming, which is really awesome. So that's how I feel about it. I really enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would.
I liked it. There are some things that I definitely had an issue with in this movie. Some things that I wish that they had done that I felt like were things that they were going to do and didn't, and I was surprised that they didn't do it. It makes sense from a longevity of the universe standpoint. And I think for me, the stuff that they did right vastly outweighs the stuff that either they didn't do right or they just didn't do at all. Like you said, Sean, I think, and this is a little bit of a condemnation of BVS, and I know Ash is sick of hearing me talk about how much I didn't like that movie, but BVS coming out in the same year as this movie couldn't have done itself a bigger disservice.
Yeah.
Because this movie makes Batman vs. Superman look like an even bigger piece of shit.
Although, to be fair, the worst disservice would be if Civil War had come out first.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. No. Yeah. I mean, totally right. But having two films come out from two separate, cinematic comic book universes that are talking about kind of the same thing, or I guess advertising and kind of angling the same way, and having one be just an abject failure and the other one being quite successful. They couldn't have done themselves a bigger disservice as far as I'm concerned. But I really liked the movie. I think it was good. I think it does some really interesting things. And, it introduces two new characters that will be big players in the universe moving forward. Big players in the universe moving forward. So, you have Black Panther and Spider-Man, and they're probably going to be integral parts to the universe moving forward. I would assume they're going to be. I don't know why they wouldn't.
Especially that.
Yeah, Tom Holland is not retiring anytime soon. So yeah. Of everyone they have in the entire pantheon right now, that is very easily going to be their new Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of just kind of the overall portrayals in this film and the new characters, introduced Spider-Man, Black Panther? What did you guys think of those characters just kind of in general?
I agree. I like the way that they kind of wrote these characters in. They give them, maybe one or two scenes to kind of go over the backstory. And I think that was smart on the Spider-Man decision because, yes, we've seen this, origin story at least twice already on the big screen, plus any number of TV show adaptations. Like people know Spider-Man. They can just shortcut that. And they did a really clever way of kind of like talking about how he gets his powers and referencing the Uncle Ben thing without it being like, oh, let's show him getting shot again for the 20th time.
Yeah.
But it's more impressive with Black Panther to me because he's very much a B-lister at best. But they let him only have 2 or 3 scenes before he dons the suit. And there's very little discussion of what that means, but you understand the gravity of being the Black Panther, of what it means to be both ruler and protector. Yeah. And I think that is really the runaway hit. That and the actor, gosh, I want to say Chitwell, but I know that's wrong.
Chadwick Boseman.
My goodness, does he do this role so much justice? Yeah. Granted, I haven't read that much of the character. I basically know him just tertiarily through like video game adaptations and things, but he feels regal yet has this kind of youthful arrogance that he goes through in the entire arc of the film, and that actually kind of arcs the film's trajectory. And that's really awesome that they did this with this character they just dropped in. I was blown away by that.
Yeah, in the way that, Spider-Man gets a great middle of the movie introduction and then a Quicksilver style, okay, thanks, kid, bye-bye, so that he's not really a part of the movie going forward. They really did allow Black Panther to be a main character. 4 characters follow this film to the absolute conclusion, and one of them is Black Panther. And, that's really allowing the narrative to rest on the shoulders of a newbie, and that was great. I think he definitely held that end of the story up, And I enjoyed his portrayal. I thought his accent was wonderful. I just thought it was a very cool character, portrayed very well. And I'm looking forward to the new Black Panther movie, man. I bought Black Panther 1 on my way home from that movie because I was thinking, you know what? There's a new run happening now. I've heard excellent things. I'm picking this up. So it obviously worked. I'm on board.
That's awesome.
I know, Ash, you had some issue with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. What's kind of your take on Tom Holland as the new Spider-Man?
I don't think Tom Holland is the problem. Like, as an actor, he's good. I've seen him in some other stuff, and he's obviously talented, right? And there's the whole thing about him being like a gymnast. He did all his own stunts, so there's like he likes the role and he's dedicated to it. It's not a question of that. It's just I don't really appreciate what they did with the writing of the character. I mean, and it's just a kind of a big comedy style with Marvel movies to have these kind of fast talking conversations, and they throw in little quips here and there. Did you catch that? It's kind of funny, right? But I understand they're trying to show with Spider-Man is he's really inexperienced, so he's going to be nervous and making like missteps all along the way. But I think a big part of him was just how sharp his wit is and how every single time he's going to have some clever thing to say in a fight. And I think a lot of that was lost, especially like when he was fighting Bucky and Falcon. He made some jokes. Yeah, it didn't feel like Spider-Man to me. I mean, I like what they're trying to do. I
felt the complete opposite in that scene. In that scene when Falcon says, "Yeah, in a fight there's not usually this much talking," I just felt like, oh yes, this is Spider-Man. This is exactly what makes him not one of these other guys, because there's not usually this much talking in a fight, and yet. For this wonderful version of Spider-Man, which I really feel like Garfield nailed in a few scenes. He really got this. The idea that this guy just wisecracks through everything. And, whether it's talking about that the fact that the shield doesn't obey the laws of physics, I just enjoyed his observations of the lunacy of what was going on around him. I thought he did a great job of capturing that wisecracking and young wisecracker, and I just feel like they're laying a really good groundwork for him being that kind of character.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that was one of the things I took away too. There's the youthfulness and the newness that he is. I mean, I think that kind of lays the ground for potential to seeing like I want to see him fight a bad guy. You know what I mean? That was one thing that I really enjoyed is he was fighting these guys who he looked up to a lot. And I don't know. I agree with what you're saying, Ash. I think that maybe we'll see more of that develop, but we'll get to see him develop that. I don't know. I was surprised when it wasn't as witty, that he was a little bit softer, but then I realized, that the circumstances kind of lend it to be this sort of big-eyed young kid that really just is in his element, and it's new for him still. I don't know. I kind of liked that about him.
I think I'm kind of in the middle, actually. Because I can see both. I really like the your shield doesn't even obey the laws of physics. That was just break up the crowd. Great line.
Yeah.
There it is. And he had a couple of other ones while he's going. And his interactions with Tony are really strong. But I think there was a little too much. And I think they leaned a little too hard on gotta have a quip here, gotta have a thing there. Where if they could have just cherry picked a few of those, have your couple of the interaction with Cap was pretty much all really good, especially down to the I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from Queens, that was cute, and you see how that can kind of evolve. But I think that he does himself a little bit of a disservice by just being too much of a motor mouth, and I never really read Spider-Man as that incessant.
That's fair.
My favorite Spider-Man, and I know I might take some shit for this, is still Tobey Maguire.
Oh my God, Grandma Maguire? What?
Hey, haters gonna hate. Come on.
I love Maguire.
I get people's dislike for him. I get that he looks nothing like a teenager. I get it. Yeah, he looks like old dude.
And yet he still looks like a baby face.
And I love Sam Raimi and the direction he went with those films, even if 3 is a mess.
Yeah, but that's not his fault.
It is. It isn't.
Yeah, it's not. He clearly could make good comic book hero movies.
Yeah.
Studio meddling.
Sony jammed down his throat a character he didn't understand. That wasn't his fault. That was Sony trying to make money off something that they really needed to allow a golden age.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
A golden age Spider-Man fan to make golden age Spider-Man stories. And when you tell him to do Venom, he just shit the bed because he didn't have any idea why Venom is people like him at all.
He was also trying to be vengeful and spiteful about, oh, you made me do this, so I'm going to throw a hissy fit. I don't know if I can behind that. But yeah, it's definitely not a character he had any investment in or what.
No.
But anyways.
I think Tom Holland was good. I mean, I kind of agree with Ash a little bit. I feel like the sense of wonderment that Spider-Man has as a character in this film, I think, was necessary. Mm-hmm. But, I just think it was necessary. I guess that's it. I get where Ash is coming from with not being on board completely. Yeah. Because it's not where I would want it's not what I want Spider-Man to end up as either. So, and I don't think that this movie is really indicative of what we're going to see with Spider-Man moving forward anyways. Just like I don't think the Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman is indicative of what Wonder Woman's going to be like in the Wonder Woman movies. I think it's the same situation.
Yeah, they're not the same directors. They're not the same tone. I think you're right.
Yeah, they're playing third or fourth or sixth or seventh fiddle in a film that's about, Captain America and Iron Man. Let's transition to talking about spoilers for the film because I feel like it's going to be kind of impossible to talk the film without talking spoilers. I want to gauge everyone's thoughts on the fact that Captain America did not die.
I was shocked, man. I was really waiting for him to die.
From a comic book standpoint, that's the logical conclusion to the Civil War story.
Although I got to say, when you kill Rumlow in Act 1, in the tag, really, I started to scratch my head as to how this was going to happen then. Because I think they set up early, don't expect this to go the way that the comics went. And I didn't take that telegraph when I should have. Because killing Rumlow was their way of saying we're not going to do what you're expecting. And I found that cool. I did enjoy the fact that Bucky got a little bit closer to being someone who maybe could pick up the shield. But then I was really disappointed at the end when he just wound up going into the tank, the Wakandan tank at the end, instead of being actively trying to become more in control, because I feel like that's just pushing off the eventual time to kill Cap. And Chris Evans has vocally been one of the actors who wants to, hang it up and move on with his life. So it just seemed like a really good fit. And I was like, all right, I'm ready for Cap to die and I'm ready for Buck to take the shield. And it just went a totally different way. Surprised me. I mean, it's like, I didn't expect at the end of BVS, spoiler alert, I didn't expect Superman to die because I didn't give a shit about him yet. And so it's like, okay, I actually care about Captain America. Now you can totally kill him. And they didn't.
I was a little disappointed they killed Rumlow as early as they did because he's been in like all sorts of promotional material for the movie and stuff. And I felt like they tried to make a big deal out of him as a character. And then it was just kind of like, and he's dead.
Yeah, I feel like that was for comic fans. I feel like that was for people who were like, yeah, Rumlow, and Crossbones bites it. Totally puts us into uncharted water right immediately.
And to be fair, I mean, obviously he was the driving force behind what would happen in the film, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, they had to replace the whole Speedball whoever thing from the comics, right? You couldn't just drop in a whole bunch of kids and be like, oh, and this is the problem, and that's how it falls off on the Avengers. Like, I think they did a good handoff there with it being Crossbones that causes it. But I agree. I was really expecting Evans to just bite the dust in the worst way possible, maybe even at the hands of Tony Stark, and that would have been a really interesting choice.
Yeah, I did find it a little bit disappointing that at the end of the film, Stark and Steve are kind of on good terms because of that letter that he sends him. I kind of liked the idea of having a bit of an Empire Strikes Back, oh no, the team is shattered moment. But then knowing that the two dudes in charge are going to be okay kind of takes that away, I found.
Right. I mean, granted, it's kind of a double-edged sword of like, I'd want them to still be antagonistic, or I'd want something terrible to happen, but there is no Cap 4 listed. There is no Iron Man 4. So, like, when would they resolve that if not whatever Infinity War becomes? And I don't want to chalk that up any more than that. Thing's already going to be a mess. So,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where this whole conversation becomes moot very quickly when Thanos shows up. Like, when the spaceman who wants to crush your planet shows up, who frigging cares? You know, when it's like terrorists and casualties of war, and like there's a lot to talk about that is very real world and very political and important. But you know, when the world-ending conqueror shows up, who cares? Anybody who's got a bat, please batter up.
Right, and they couldn't even put in a World War Hulk kind of storyline because we haven't had any more Hulk than the Avengers film. So. Mm-hmm. They were just hamstringed all over, and they did the best they could. And
we did get William Hurt back as Ross from the Incredible Hulk film, which I thought was strange.
It was strange.
I enjoyed it so much. I thought that was brilliant. I mean, they could have brought in any, actor with gravitas to be the next Robert Redford in this film. But for them to reach into the canon and say, well, shit, we've already got William Bloody Hurt that can play Thunderbolt. So let's do that. I think that felt, it brings the ugly stepson back into the fold. That's a terrible film, Incredible Hulk. And so the idea that, one of the characters has been recast doesn't mean it's not in the pantheon. It's still a part of the universe. So it was nice to have William Hurt come back, and it was really interesting to have them play Freeman as his son, because that's going to be fun to watch. I think Martin Freeman's character is going to be a very interesting one going forward.
I'd like to see more of him, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you who did feel like a totally wasted opportunity was Agent 13.
Oh, she's a little bit outgunned, though. It's not like you can do much with her. She's going to have her ass handed to her immediately.
Right, but I felt like they kind of just hot-shotted her and Captain America being in love. It felt like it didn't belong.
I don't know if I believe that they're in love, though.
To me, it was just like, and now they're kissing, and I don't understand why.
To me, it was just a farewell, I might not see you again kind of thing. I mean, granted.
Yeah, but I hadn't gotten the sense that they had enough interaction where that was like a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. How recently have you watched Winter Soldier?
Right. That's where I'm coming from.
If you pick it up right after that, there's, I think there's an arc happening there that works. And Cap, I mean, the guy can only be a virgin for so long, for Christ's sake.
It's true.
I gotta say, the Bucky Falcon relationship to me was one of the highlights of this film. I loved their antagonistic. Can you move your seat up? Like that moment for me, the entire theater went nuts. And then when Spider-Man weds them both up, and then Bucky's like, you couldn't have done that earlier? And then I hate you. Like everything about that was just such a wonderful antagonistic relationship. I gotta say, there's something special about, there's something very special about those two characters together, and those two actors. They're Stan and why can't I remember his name?
Anthony Mackie.
Anyway, Mackie. I was like, Wilson? No, character. Mackie and Stan are friggin' great together. I would watch a movie with just those two guys.
Right, definitely.
Tell you what, though, the thing that stole the show for me in this film was Paul Rudd as Ant-Man.
Oh, yes.
A legend.
Or should I say Giant Man?
Yeah, because I love Giant Man.
That was the best part of the film for me.
I didn't even see that coming. I didn't see the leaked Lego set or whatever about it. Just like he's doing his whole like, oh, this might tear me in two, but just like running for it. I'm like, what is he going to do? Is this the moment? Oh, that's the moment. And it was brilliant. Not to mention it followed up that awesome action bit between him and Iron Man that was just completely inspired. You're like, oh, that's what this character is for. Like it felt like a continuation of the Ant-Man choreography that was so brilliant. And yeah, God, he was used so well. Even just as Scott, he was good.
Yeah, now I'm very excited. I now really want to see Ant-Man. I have not seen that yet.
Oh my God, you haven't seen Ant-Man?
No, and now I feel motivated now.
Oh,
to be fair though, I felt like everyone thought Ant-Man was going to be a failure, myself included.
Oh, definitely. It should have been a failure. Everything that was going wrong with that production.
There's no reason why that movie should have been as good as it was, and it was really good.
Right.
It's shocking that movie was good.
You kind of call it like a retread of Iron Man 1, but like in all the best ways, and it still stands up. So.
Well, and on top of that, one of the most visionary directors in the world today was essentially fired from that production and replaced with a guy who does like really quotidian comedies. And so it shouldn't have been good. And it was a really, really good movie. Ant-Man is a tight little heist movie that is so well done. The characters are so well drawn. And yeah, that movie defied the odds for sure.
Ash, for you, what was your the most memorable part of the film for you?
Probably the Bucky and Falcon relationship. You know, I'm always that guy who's like, oh, Marvel films could like benefit from being a little more serious at times, but I think though there were some parts where that was still a problem. Like I think that whole relationship between him and Falcon was like incredibly well done. And it's not something you expect, but then when you see it, it really makes sense because like Sam has every reason to hate this guy. And then they make it so I don't want to say juvenile, but it's very like, it's kind of like two kids bickering. It seems so small on like what's happening around them, but it's really funny because it takes those really heavy fight scenes and it kind of just adds like, oh, this is still, you know, these are still two guys who really don't like each other.
Yeah, it was like new best friend and old best friend, both jealous about who's the better best friend for Cap. I just thought, oh man, everything about this feels so real and grounded, and yet one of the dudes can fly and the other one has a metal arm. Like, it just managed to live in both worlds in a really beautiful way.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Sean? What stuck out for you?
I don't know. I gotta say it's tough. I loved all of the. I really loved the Avengers Civil War scene. I mean, it looks like Marvel. It reminds me of like those, like what are they called? It's like the Marvel games where you just fight. It just reminds me of the video game. You know, it's really cool to see them pull all their punches. But to me, I really, really started to fall in love with the Winter Soldier story, and I mean, I know that this has been covered in the prequel or the movies before this one, leading up to this movie, but I really thought that. I got to, and as an outlet, because someone who hasn't read the comics, I really loved the love triangle between those three guys. Just the, I don't know, maybe it's just Sebastian Stan. I just really liked what he did with it in this movie. Just that redemption, that, you know, sort of broken and, you know, desperate for redemption in some way that it's almost broken. I don't know. I just really liked that character a lot in this movie. Because I feel like even in Winter Soldier, I didn't care so much, but now I do. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I don't have any, like, nothing spoke to my heart the way it must have for you guys. But
well, I think you got a really good point. For so much of the Winter Soldier, he's this amnesiac who is just recognizable to us and to Steve. Yeah. And you don't really get to see who Bucky is and what's left of him. This movie, you really get to go in there and feel the helplessness and the rage and the guilt. That, I mean, it's one thing to wake up from 100 years in the ice and the world has passed you by. It's a whole other thing to wake up from 100 years and find out you just killed 100 of the most important people in the history of mankind.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like that's a guy who has come to his senses only to realize he's a monster. That's
absolutely. I thought that. Yeah, I love that. I thought. I think maybe that's exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that and he has a line where he says, "I remember all of them." And that to me really stuck out to me. I thought that was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And it has that's sort of the essence of what this movie is about. And I think that's why I think they captured it so well. The fact that our villain is a human being who just wants, it's about vengeance, you know what I mean? About revenge and what that does. And and the fact that our villain in this movie was that vengeance. It's that sort of, it's hard to place your finger on it, which is probably why the ending didn't feel as solid. Or, you know, one could argue that it doesn't feel as solid as some of the others. But, you know, it's a more complicated issue, I think. And I think that discussion and seeing Bucky's struggle through that and remembering everything with him, you know, that to me, you know, for Tony Stark, for example, like that really was, oh man, it's like your heart, you know?
I think that exact scene is so important when the two of them are squaring off and Iron Man gets in that, like, do you even remember killing my parents? And you remember killing all these people? And he says, I remember every one of them, or remember every day, or something like that. And that is like condensing the film into like one little exchange.
Absolutely.
So many ways. And that was, again, like, this is just such a brilliantly written, scripted, and acted movie. And just so in the middle of a fight, you can still have these character trade-offs that just tell you exactly what the stakes are. And it explains why Iron Man's so fired up, that he's, you know, kind of seeing things with the blinders on. But Bucky and Cap are really fired up and, like, not totally willing to look at the whole picture. And it just feels real. Like, even if this guy, the robot arm is fighting this guy in a crazy mech suit. Like, real.
And when you compare that, like you said, the ability to ramp up the stakes, the ability to make character a part of these fight scenes, and you compare that to the just, you know, very pretty but sadly underlit tableaus of Batman versus Superman, like, that's just not how to engage an audience. There's The Winter Soldier has been in exactly as many movies as Superman. I mean, Bucky was his own character, but the Winter Soldier, this sort of screwed up version of him, has been in as many movies as Superman. I care way, way, way more about Bucky than I do about the bloody Man of Steel. And so it's like there's clearly a right way and a wrong way to do this, and DC and Marvel have done a great job of showing us both.
Yeah, you know, I think Marvel in this film has maybe put to rest a little bit of the critics that say, you know, Marvel can only make jokey films. Because this movie tackles, you know, the topic that it's tackling, I think it's not very jokey or cartoony compared to the way some of the previous films kind of mix those themes.
I don't think Captain America's ever had a hard time. That to me, that's been the Dark Trilogy in the series, because, you know, the Thor movies are kind of hokey and weird because they're Shakespearean and big and amusing because the main character is a bit dumb. And then you've got the Iron Man movies that are so just sarcastic and narcissistic that they're fun. And then these Captain America movies have been very dark. They've dealt with the darkest time in human history, and then moved on to become an espionage film about mistaken identity and being robbed of your own. And now they've moved into something even more heavy. The Captain America movies shouldn't have needed to be the heaviest ones. It should have been the Hulk movies that were. But the Captain America movies have nailed it. And anyone who's been saying Marvel only makes jokey movies is clearly just making some very broad statements without really paying attention to the nuance.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, but they want more films like Batman vs Superman or Nolan's Batman movies.
I would say, talk about the Dark Trilogy that doesn't work. I think if you compare Cap to the Nolan trilogy of Batman, like, that's a really interesting thing. Granted, I think that each movie gets successfully worse until you have Dark Knight Rises that was just a bomb. But, and I know that I'm on the outskirts here, not thinking that...
No, I agree with you 100%. You're speaking my language.
Yeah,
I think Batman Begins was just like such a like, whoa, you can do this to me, that's why I like it best. But I mean, you set these two trilogies like next to each other, and I don't think that First Avenger was that dark. Yes, we're dealing with Nazis, but we're dealing with like super science Nazis, and there's very little about like the torture and the terribleness that actually happened in the real world. it's about this guy that like uses crazy like Norse magic technology and accidentally makes himself into a freakish skull man. Like, it's kind of hokey still. But then...
Well, actually, that's not how... It's interesting you say that, because he had already been made into a monster by Nazi experimentation.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand. I mean...
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it goes into the fantasy very quickly. You're very quickly dealing with Hydra, not Nazis. And right, that really takes away it takes some of the teeth out of it. It's true.
It's like, I don't think about the Nazis in Hellboy, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a set dressing for him to show up and for there to be a really cool clockwork guy. Like, that's about it. But and I think that the way that they managed that little bit or that like heavy tone, but then these little bits of comedy in between, these bits of brightness, make the movie feel heavier for Captain America rather than just like, I'm Batman, the world sucks, and you're chaos, and I'm more... Like, they're dancing a razor's edge here.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Batman movies, especially Nolan's Batman movies, like, play in one area and never really get outside of it. Whereas the Cap movies have increasingly gotten more and more complicated and more interesting. And they've done what the Batman movies did, which was add new and more villains and deal with bigger and more difficult storytelling. But it did it and got better, whereas Batman did it and just got convoluted and dumb. Because you look at their attempt to do the Long Halloween storyline in The Dark Knight, and they miss it big time. They miss really what that story's about. And then you take a look at their attempt to tell No Man's Land at the same time as Nightfall, Night's End, and Night's Quest. All 4 arcs they try to tell in one movie with Dark Knight Rises, and they shit the bed so hard in an attempt to do that. Whereas this movie for Captain America managed to tell not only Civil War, which is a huge sweeping storyline, and to be fair, they only told about 50% of it, and then they go ahead and also layer on top of that the entire Winter Soldier mythos. That's a huge undertaking, and they did a great job. This is the movie that has made me change my tune about the concept of telling more than one comic book storyline at a time, because they did it so well in this, and they recognized that they shouldn't get to the end of the Civil War storyline in this one movie. Yeah. Captain America's still a vigilante on the run, and they really haven't dealt with where Spider-Man's loyalties are now. I feel like they only really told half to 2/3 of Civil War, and really focused on telling the storyline of the Winter Soldier and where he goes next. And that to me was a great move, because there's way more character in the Winter Soldier storyline than there is in the Civil War storyline inherently.
Yeah. No, actually, you saying that, I'm more okay with the ending of the movie now when you kind of point it out that way, because I've been racking my brain since I saw it Thursday night of just like, okay, I don't like that they didn't resolve it, that they just left it like, oh, he's going to branch off and like whatever. But I don't know that you could do anything else with the cast they've been given. You don't want them to come down on a side and say that this person was right or this person was wrong. Like, yeah.
Well, and remember what Spider-Man did in the Civil War comics. Started out as the Iron Spider working with Iron Man. It was a big deal that the two of them were together. And then by the end of it, Spider-Man was working with Captain America. And I think what they've done is taken Black Panther and made him into that guy who had an alliance with Iron Man at the beginning, because
taking a risk.
We got to take down Captain America. And now, at the very last moment in the film, you really get the point where, okay, Black Panther as the surrogate version of an established Spider-Man, because you can't do it with a new Spider-Man, it has to be an established one. As the surrogate established character, the Black Panther is now working with Captain America. I think that's really neat. I think if we're going to map out the comic book storylines, that moment where Spider-Man changes sides is where Civil War actually ended, because it was Black Panther who changed sides.
Right. And oh my God, that final scene between Black Panther and Zemo was equally brilliant.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, we haven't even talked about Daniel Bruhl as
Daniel Bruhl. Oh my God.
as a not pink towel head clad Zemo.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
I mean, and you know what? If I have one complaint about the whole film, it's that character's name is Helmut Zemo. Because Baron Zemo is a fucking cool character who can go toe-to-toe with Captain America in a fist fight. So there aren't very many Captain America villains who can do that are legendary. You've got the Red Skull, and that's sort of it. So the fact that Baron Zemo has turned into this, like, I don't know, sad, basically this sad soldier, to me is a waste of the character, and I think they should have made him into maybe someone else. A bit like Baron Strucker. Like, Baron Strucker can go toe-to-toe with Captain America with that crazy, like, hell fist or whatever the thing he has. Like, there's some really cool stuff that they've just kind of been setting up villains and knocking them down without really letting them do the things they can do. And to me, Baron Zemo is another example of that. I loved what Daniel Bruhl did with this character. It was amazing. It was a really cool emotional character. Coming back to, vengeance as usual was a little boring, but the emotional beats that he played were wonderful. But yeah, I felt it was a bit of a waste of the Baron Zemo.
I can see that. By the same token, though, they didn't totally off him,
Right.
so it's possible they could revamp him into something else. Though they make a very strong point, like he says it himself, I am not a strong man. I could not fight either of these two. This is my way to do battle. This is my way to take them down. So he kind of undercuts himself, and also he makes a point of being very anti-Hydra, which is very interesting for a character named Zemo. But I agree. If they could have found maybe a B-tier Cap villain and use that name instead, but they also wanted to drum up hype. It's sort of a Mandarin situation, though I think that the Mandarin twist was a little bit more clever, where this one paid off a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. The Mandarin twist was completely unexpected. Whereas this one, you're right. They could play this into, oh, Daniel Bruhl is such a cool character. He's such a great actor. Let's bring him back and let's give him some power and actually turn him into a strong man who can go toe to toe. That is the neat thing about him. Plus, the character Baron Zemo is actually two different guys, right? There's the version that fought Captain America when it was World War II, and then there's his son who eventually, as time goes on, gets called his grandson. So there is still room for stuff like that to happen. So I liked Daniel Bruhl a lot in this film. I thought he was very neat.
I was so hyped to see him come across the pond for this, so I'm glad that he got the limelight, man. He deserved it.
Yeah.
From the first scene he steps on, you know exactly where you stand with this character, and you're both intrigued and disgusted, and that's where you should fucking be, and it's great.
Yeah. Although I loved the moment when you first get to listen to, there's this voyeuristic moment where you're hearing his wife's voicemail to him. And you're like, oh, you're doing something really neat with this character. Yeah. And then when you realize that these are old voicemail messages and this is a heartbroken man, it's no, it goes a totally other direction. And yeah, it was good, man. That was a cool villain. Again, I got to reiterate, this whole vengeance storyline gets a little dull, but
somehow they do
this one worked for me in a way other ones haven't. And it's a crazy difficult plot. This is an impressive amount of planning, an impressive amount of being able to predict what people are going to do, and I bought it. I totally believed that this guy could do this. Yeah. Whereas Lex Luthor's goofy, he has no idea what the outcome's going to be, but he's planning for the outcome anyway. Lex Luthor had the worst plan in movie history, whereas this guy had a complicated plan to pit two guys against each other, and it was perfect. It's such a good, bloody good plan. I enjoyed it so much.
It takes some liberties. You have to take some logical leaps to follow how he does all this with Zemo. But I think that's made up for in the fact that he's not trying to get a specific end. He's just trying to get these heroes to fuck with each other and to destroy each other. He doesn't care how it happens. He doesn't care who else gets caught up. Just as long as the people who brought him despair feel despair. That's all he's looking for. And I think that's the strength.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not somehow planning that Captain America will be the winner, or he's not expecting one of them to kill the other. If they do, great, whatever. But that wasn't the absolute end his plan. The plan was just for two people who are the pillar of supergroup to no longer be in a position together that they can. And I felt in that moment where Martin Freeman asks him, "How does it feel that your plan failed so spectacularly?" And then Helmut Zemo says, "Did it?"
Yeah.
In that moment, you're like, "Oh yeah, because it totally worked." But then the letter comes in the mail, and you're like, "Okay, so it's fine. Never mind." The Stark and Rogers are going to be fine.
But
yeah, but again, that's sort of the happy shiny bow that Marvel gets a bit of flack for always putting on things. They could have not had that letter make Tony seem quite as agreeable as he did. The last thing Tony did in the film really was betray the Accords and go help Captain America. So he's basically, if he got found out for that, he's very much a criminal. But I think this giving Iron Man some time to think about the fact that yes, technically Bucky killed his parents, killed his mother. That's the one that really beat him up. Technically, Bucky killed my mom, but it wasn't Bucky. That was the Winter Soldier. Like, having some time to digest that, I think is kind of all it took for Stark to have the perspective he needed. Whereas, Zemo knew that he needed in that moment to reveal to Stark that this is the killer of your parents and watch it happen. Because there's no way you digest that quickly. That takes some time to realize, okay, this man is not responsible, even though this man is responsible.
You guys mentioned the Zemo issue and the villain issue. It's kind of the one issue I've had with Marvel, and they didn't really address it in this film, and they might moving forward. But Marvel's villains have always been not great in the films, and this film I think does a better job than the last couple have with giving an interesting villain, because the villain, I guess, if you look at it one way, the villain is Captain America. Yep. Look at it the other way, the villain is Iron Man. They do a better job of giving you a villain than some of the other Marvel films have, but I don't think Zemo was necessary in this film.
And you need a domino to start the effect, and I agree that maybe it didn't have to be Zemo,
the way that they angled how it happened. Yeah, I mean they didn't have. I mean they obviously they're not going to do the way the comic book did it, because the way the comic book did it is complicated. Yeah,
but by the same token, you even if you don't want somebody masterminding it, you need somebody that ramps up the tension between these two characters, because otherwise, I can see where Steve Rogers and Tony Stark go in front of the Supreme Court and just have a fucking objection, Ace Attorney legal battle against each other. But I don't see where they're going to come to blows. You need somebody to give that little plant of and here's why you want to punch the shit out of him.
If there wasn't a personal aspect for Rogers at the beginning, he would have been less likely to go totally off the reservation. He would have not signed the Accords, and then he wouldn't have had anything to do, really. He would have been forced into retirement. But the fact that Bucky was out there and being framed for this meant that we were going to see Captain America move against the Accords, and without Zemo to put that in motion, it wouldn't have been as exciting. But Cap still would have been looking for his friend, with or without Zemo.
Right. Well, I'm kind of curious from everyone here, starting with Ash. What do you kind of think of the direction they're heading with the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Does this film get you excited for Infinity War?
Yeah, I think so. I think a bigger part of it is that they recently announced that it wasn't going to be Infinity War Part 1, Part 2, that they're two completely different movies. So I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to work. And I mean, they've obviously shown that they understand when you're doing big movies with a lot of characters and there's a real threat, then they know how to weave their way in and out of character storylines and make sure they don't get bogged down in unnecessary details. So there's obviously you can trust Marvel to make a good ensemble movie. As for Thanos, I'm not sure how they're gonna do it, because I mean, I guess technically in the MCU everyone's a little underpowered, just because you can't have sometimes you just can't have that level of ridiculousness. But I mean, Thanos is supposed to be like scary strong. So I'm interested to see like, will they have the first movie and maybe like focus on the Avengers fighting them and then figure out they can't do it alone. The next one's kind of like, maybe they bring in some sort of Justice Society of America type thing where they get a bunch of other villains, like because they said Miss Marvel's going to be in it and stuff. So I think I have my faith. I trust the Russo brothers to do something good with it. So I don't think it's probably going to be the best one yet. And it's going to be hard for anything DC puts out to top that, I think.
What do you think, Ben?
I mean, if we're going to jump all the way to Infinity War, I don't know if I want to put any money on the horses just yet. I agree. I think the idea of actually making it much more obvious that these are separate entries is going to be good, especially if some of the thoughts that are already going around get pulled out, that like part 1 is, on the Earth, part 2 is getting the Guardians down. And I want to see that happen. Oh my God. Like, while we're on that, I'm most hyped for Guardians 2 because Guardians 1 was so much fun and it's close enough to the others, but still very different. And it's also an ensemble movie, just a tighter one. And also seeing Nathan Fillion be added to that as Wonder Man is more inspired casting. So holy shit. I really do want to see them stretch their legs a little bit more. It was nice that in this one we got some really good characterization for Scarlet Witch and for Black Widow, and that you had characters of different genders and of different racial backgrounds and things really getting to share the screen as much as they could in a movie that's labeled Captain America. So I want to see them kind of continue to do that diversification and really get moving, because as much as I was excited for Doctor Strange, I'm still worried about it. So we'll see how that one plays into the rest of these, because I think that's going to be the next Thor. That's going to be the next jumping point of how do you write this character into these characters' world.
I think Doctor Strange might end up like Ant-Man, honestly, where the expectations are quite low, and then...
I like the character a lot, and I'm glad that they're bringing him. I would have perhaps liked some different casting, and as a personal fanboy, I think you should have brought in Doc Hammer and Jackson Public, because they've been asking about doing it since like 2002. But you do what you do. So the first trailer is hype. I'll give them that. It should be weird, but what
about you, Sean?
They're villains.
I kind of still remain as a bystander. If anything, I'm very excited. I mean, here as an outsider to the fandom, I sort of, as long as they continue to be engaging emotionally and tell an interesting story the way they have, I'm absolutely interested. I will keep watching. If anything, I now want to go back, like I said before, I want to watch Ant-Man. I want to watch all of the things I missed out on. It's making a fan out of me, I guess if that's anything that has plenty of consolation there. But you guys literally talking about the phases is the first time I've heard about that, and so now I'm looking at it and I'm blown away by how much thought has been put into this. And it's kind of, that's obvious, I think, that when you watch the movies, and to me that's exciting. So I definitely will continue.
What about you, Matt?
I feel like Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Marvel's Cinematic Universe, the idea that David Nigel came up with and that Kevin Feige has beautifully executed has matured into something new and into something that DC is not ready to take on. DC was ready for Phase 1 and Phase 2, but unfortunately they were late. What's happening in Phase 3 is none of these movies are going to be one-character movies. This Black Widow movie that people are talking about, this new Spider-Man Homecoming movie, this Thor movie, these aren't about these one characters anymore. Marvel has us. We love these characters. Mm-hmm. And so when they do a Spider-Man movie co-starring Iron Man, that's just like the comics. When they do a Thor movie co-starring Hulk, that's just like the comics. They know that we are going to show up for these team-up movies that are technically a Spider-Man movie or technically a Thor movie or technically a Captain America movie. Phase 3 is about team-ups, is about the joy I had as a 7-year-old boy opening up an issue of Deathlock to find out that Venom was going to be in this issue. and I think that's what's frigging cool about Phase 3. And I'm very excited for what Benedict Cumberbatch is going to give us for Doctor Strange. I think that looks like an absolutely mind-boggling, very special kind of movie. And if they don't do the thing with 3D that I think they're doing with 3D, I need to, because I've got some ideas for what I think they're doing. And if you don't take advantage of the fact that your left eye and your right eye can see two different things when you're talking about a movie doing dimensions, then you're not using 3D right.
Ooh.
So I'm hoping they do something completely revolutionary with 3D, or else I will. So I'm very optimistic. I think the Russo brothers have done a really great job of adapting their style to this sort of spy thriller handheld thing. And I really feel like they're going to very effortlessly move their cinematography into a more austere, Joss Whedon-y kind of style, so that they're making what feel more like Avengers movies. And they're doing friggin' great character work. They're doing great action work. They're balancing things out. I can't think of anybody I'd rather have directing Avengers 3 and 4. Other than me. And so I feel like they're going to kill it. Absolutely. And I think the new Spider-Man movie that's being sort of billed as like a John Hughes type film, that's going to be a movie about a young guy trying to figure his life out. I think that's going to be really neat. We've got enough men in this world. It's time for women and children to have different kinds of stories. And I love the idea that Captain Marvel's coming out. That's going to be a really cool female soldier. And I love the idea that Black Widow is supposed to have a movie coming out in the next 4 to 5 years. That's somebody who deserves the movie. And that's not going to be her by herself. We're going to have Captain America in there. We're going to have Bucky in there. We're going to have, certainly, we better have Hawkeye in there. Like, there are characters who are going to be a part of Phase 3 and beyond. Just like Guardians of the Galaxy, these are going to be ensemble pieces. And that's where the joy of this is, because we love these characters. We don't really know Ben Affleck's Batman, and we don't really know Henry Cavill's Superman. We certainly don't know Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. These are icons. They're not characters. So Marvel has the joy and honor of working with characters now that they've developed.
Yeah.
And I'm very much excited to see where they go.
Yeah, I can't really echo you guys enough. Those who know me well will know that I was not on the superhero thing for a while. I kind of took a break from it because I just felt like it was oversaturation, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Captain America 1. I definitely didn't like Thor 1. And I felt like they just kind of were putting out some inferior products, but just putting out product to put it out. And boy, how's that changed in 5 years? Guardians, Winter Soldier, this film, they've kind of turned it around in my mind and really put the universe going in a direction that I'm excited to see where it goes. You mentioned Joss Whedon and the Avengers movie. This is the best Avengers movie that's ever come out. And Joss Whedon, I feel bad for him in a way.
I disagree with that only because this was a great Captain America movie. The magic behind the first Avengers film is that there is no main character in that film. This movie has a main character and a main antagonist. The main character is Captain America. The main antagonist is Tony Stark. But my only argument, because I do feel this movie in a lot of ways, in just about every way that matters, is better than the Avengers movies. This is not an Avengers movie. This is a really great team-up Captain America movie. It's a huge cast. It's a massive, I just imagine what the cover of this issue would look like, and it would be one of those annuals. It would be a huge, beautiful, awesome comic book. But no, it's not an Avengers movie, man. It's a really, really great team-up movie. But This was a Captain America issue all the way.
But couldn't you make the case that Captain America is the villain in the film?
Oh, absolutely. I think he is. I'm totally Team Iron Man. I'm Team Iron. I'm great. I'm Iron Faction all the way. But I feel like you could tell this was not an Iron Man movie. This was a Captain America movie with some really great characters chucked in there, because that's how you tell that story, right?
Right. But I'm excited to see where this universe goes and see where it ultimately ends up. And I don't think anyone on this podcast will get to see the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So
I hope not. I hope this is a permanent fixture. This is a new way of making movies. And Jaws was a new way of making movies, and Avengers was a new way of making movies. And I don't think there has been a leap like that in between. Arguably Avatar, maybe, but not with the same kind of impact. Right. Avatar was like a half step. Avengers is a new way of making movies, and it's very exciting.
Well, starting with Sean and working around the table, skip it or watch it, and best performance.
I think you got to watch it. I mean, there's no reason to skip it, really. And if you're interested at all in what you've seen from the Marvel Universe, you've got to watch this one. Best performance, man, that's tough. That's really tough. I'm going to say, for no other reason other than that, I'm super excited to see Ant-Man now. I really loved Paul Rudd. It's so hard. This cast is ridiculous. And I also super love Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, or better known as Bucky now, because but yeah, I really fell in love with his character. So I'm going to say Sebastian Stan, ends with a little super shout out to Paul Rudd, but that's always a given.
What about you, Ash?
Obviously, yeah, go watch it. I mean, this is like probably going to be the biggest film of the year. I mean, in just pure scale, I don't know popularity, but like if you watch an MCU film, if you want to start watching superhero films, probably shouldn't start with this, but you should definitely watch it. And it's not like one of those movies, I don't think, that you need to really go see on the big screen, but it's definitely something that you shouldn't try and avoid so you can wait for the Blu-ray release or anything, because it's a really enjoyable film, and I can see people going back for like multiple screenings, of course. Best performance, yeah, like Sean said, that's hard, because I think, I mean, level, like I don't expect much in the way of acting ability in superhero movies, but generally there's never like a lot of bad actors. But in this film especially, I think everyone did a really good job. Like Robert Downey Jr., he is Iron Man, pretty much. He's just one of those perfect casting choices. But as Iron Man, I think he showed like a lot of like the internal struggle really well. Captain America too, obviously, like the feud between them is really well fleshed out. But I think, because I'm a fanboy, I'm gonna say Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, because that was just a great performance, and I like that they care about this character and they're gonna go somewhere with it.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben?
Obviously, watch it. Like, go see it as soon as you can. I think you should see it in theaters, possibly even in 3D, but mostly just because around here that's how you get the super awesome comfy seats, and that's always worth it. I mean, God, this is just a genius film. As far as best performance, everyone that isn't Elizabeth Olsen trying to do an accent she can't control, but that's obviously not totally her fault. I mean, honestly, I think I'd have to also go with Chadwick Boseman. I love the Bucky character. You know, Cap and Iron Man are great, as they've been in every movie they've been in. I think Falcon was great. I think, I have so much German fanboy love for Daniel Bruhl, but Chadwick just came into this movie, totally owned what he was supposed to do, did an entire character arc as B tier in this movie, and still was like part of the emotional soul of it, and that's amazing.
What about you, Matt?
Oh, watch it. If you're listening to this and you haven't watched it, you're already making mistakes in your life. You should have watched it by now. This is an amazing. You need to go watch this movie. But best performance in this film, I'm torn between Anthony Mackie as Falcon, because he's just magnetic in this film. But I think I've got to give it to Tom Holland, because his Spider-Man is perfect. There's nothing about his Spider-Man that is incorrect, and there has been in every other Spider-Man that's been out there. Tom Holland is perfect as Spider-Man, and he not only all of his natural who he is makes him perfect, but he delivers in a scene opposite Robert Downey Jr. when you watch this 19-year-old kid killing it with the most intimidating person in the entire Marvel universe. In real life and in the comic, you really have to appreciate that Tom Holland is Peter Parker. He's so well done.
Yeah, I'm with everyone else. Obviously, it's a watch, no questions asked. especially if you care about where this is, going or where it's been. Best performance, you guys have kind of already covered all the bases. Paul Bettany as Vision. I'm just kidding.
He was
God.
bad,
It wasn't bad, but again, I think Vision is like treated as a C tier character.
I think they did better with him here, but yeah, still.
No, for me, it's going to be Paul Rudd as Ant-Man with a shout out to Jeremy Renner as the oft forgotten yet never in my heart Hawkeye. Because I think Hawkeye really is an interesting character, and he just kind of has always played second fiddle or third fiddle or seventh fiddle to everyone else. But Paul Rudd, I mean, I think everyone was kind of shaking their heads at him when he was cast as Ant-Man, and Ant-Man proved that he could hang. And well, I think Ant-Man proved that he was perfectly cast, and then this movie I think shows he can hang with the big boys. What do you guys think the film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'd say it's probably about 92.
I was about to shoot the same.
Yeah, I'll say 90.
Yeah, I think I checked it like a couple weeks ago. It was like 91 or 92. Probably either above a little bit.
91%.
Wow.
Captain America Civil War begins the next wave of Marvel movies with an action-packed superhero blockbuster boasting a decidedly non-cartoonish plot and the courage to explore thought-provoking themes.
Right on.
92% from audience score. The fucking fanboys love it.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing about this is that critics love it, fanboys love it, casual moviegoers love it. That's the trifecta. If you can get all three of those, you've succeeded. If you've only got one of those, you've failed.
But no, man, no. Film critics don't know what they're about. We don't know.
Yeah, that movie wasn't made for film critics.
It wasn't made for us. Why are we liking it? Come on. Get your shit together.
Right, Ash? It wasn't made for us. Fuck you, bro. It wasn't made for you. Well, before I talk about next Monday's Kulturecast, Sean, anything you want to plug?
Nothing new. As always, Lonely and Horny is still out, and it's all the way out. You can follow me on Twitter at Seanifer, and on Facebook, I'm Sean Liang.
You can follow me on Twitter at CultureStash, and if you like what you're hearing now, head on over to cultureshock.com/Kulturecast and check out the Kulturecast. We have over 100 episodes of the Kulturecast over there. Also, check out Ben and Ash's written reviews over on cultureshock.com/The Screening Room. Next Monday, we're going to get back to Werner Herzog films with Enigma of Caspar Hauser. I have not seen that one. I'm looking forward to it, though. I've heard good things.
I'm looking forward to Werner Herzog's Captain America 4.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Please do that.
Werner Herzog. Have you seen that preview for Werner Herzog's Ant-Man?
It looks like a rip-roaring hilarious adventure.
Have you seen it? Someone made like a legit trailer for Werner Herzog's Ant-Man.
Oh my god! Oh, that's brilliant.
Watching.
It's fucking amazing. Go watch that now.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, big thanks as always to Matt for sitting down and talking with us about another comic book movie. I think you're going to be joining us again next month for
X-Men?
Ghostbusters?
Oh,
X-Men?
yeah,
I think both.
Ghostbusters.
Oh god, Ghostbusters.
Hey man, I'm down for both. I'm remarkably excited for this new Ghostbusters movie. I've got my eyes and mind wide open. I'm hoping it'll be great.
Alfie called nerds the worst group of people he's ever had to interact with. That's a great way to start your film off.
Well, we are the worst people to interact with because we have opinions that he doesn't like. So
he said they're too aggressive.
Oops. And as always, Ben and Ash, big thanks to you guys as well for sitting down and talking with us about the comic book movie. And make sure to check out next week's Kulturecast.